all for joining us today. We are here to have a conversation about the first year of parenting. My name is Lynn Marshall, and I am the Development Director here at Parent Trust. With me today are our Conscious Fathering Coordinator, Jessup Coffin, and one of our longtime Great Starts instructors, Kim James. And I'm just going to briefly talk about a little bit about why we're here and the importance of supporting parents in that first year of life. 80,000 babies are born every year in Washington State. That's 80,000 families who have questions and need support and are trying to figure out the roller coaster of that first year of parenting. What we do at Parent Trust is we help families figure out how to parent the best way that works for their family. And your support is instrumental in making that happen. So just with that, I want to turn things over to Kim and Jessup. If you could both start by just telling us just briefly a little bit about yourselves so people get a sense of who you are. You both have decades of experience working with brand new families, and I want people to know about it.
All right, I'm Jessup. I am the Conscious Fathering Program Coordinator. Aside from having a 9-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 7-week-old myself, I also am one of the primary teachers and educators for Conscious Fathering, where we teach new dads how to be as helpful as possible, as involved as possible, and give them as many tricks and pro tips to really have success right from the start.
Thanks, Jessup. My name's Kim James. I've been a childbirth educator here at Parent Trust going on 23 years now. I have, excuse me, a 24-year-old daughter and an 18-year-old daughter, and when I took my childbirth and parenting classes, I took them here at Parent Trust as well. I just dropped off my 18-year-old, excuse me, at college this fall, and so, my parenting journey, in terms of my parenting journey with children at home, is just coming to that end. And gosh, Parent Trust has been with me this whole time from the beginning, and now as I come to that end, and I couldn't be more grateful. So thank you for letting me be here. Thank you for your time, Lynn.
This is a real treat for me, and I think it's going to be a real treat for our audience too. So I want to start basically with at the very beginning around. I want to ask you, what do you both see most often in your classes and in your interactions with new families? As what are the things that sort of come up commonly for parents in the first year? Where do you see the greatest needs for support?
Sleep.
Yeah.
Definitely. A lot of people are very focused on sleep and how to get sleep and how do I keep sleep when I'm dealing with this new baby. And I think one of the things we do really well is our emphasis on figuring out how it works for your family, because everybody's got their own variation on what is successful to get that 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period.
100%, and that sounds like a parent who just had a brand new baby. That sounds like a parent who's just got a 7-week at home sleep. Absolutely, that is number one. And then a very close number two, and where I get a lot of calls in that, especially that first week, is feeding your baby, and especially if you were breast or body feeding your baby. All of those questions about, is this going right? Does the thing that I'm feeling with my body, am I supposed to be feeling this way? So sometimes those are the little questions, but sometimes those are the really big questions where we need to get the experts involved. So I'm happy to be that middle layer, when people have those questions, and when it's a question that we need to get the experts involved, immediately connecting somebody to that next layer.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that brings up a really interesting point around some of the calls we get on the family helpline, which can be very, very similar and very interesting around the whole idea of what should I feel? Is there a right way that I should be doing whatever it is? Or the flip side of that can be, can you solve this problem for me right now? Because I haven't slept in 3 days and I really need an answer. And I want to talk a little bit about how you both feel about that, both the pressure that new parents are under to do everything perfectly, and how you help people walk through that. But how do you I think accepting that it's normal to have all these conflicting emotions around it, and also that it's normal to need help.
And if I don't look that certain way, and I don't feel that certain way, help. Why don't I feel this way? And why don't I look this way? And so being a resource when somebody, seeks help and is starting to question, well, why don't I feel the way that others feel, or the way others look like they feel, or should I be feeling that way? I really appreciate being in that spot, or have, enjoy being in this spot, being able to help folks. So
I'm sure you both know, the statistics, it in your work, that postpartum depression, perinatal depression and anxiety, these things, we've seen huge upswings in these things since the pandemic. It's still a little
so
statistically
surprising. That wasn't stressful at all.
That wasn't stressful at all. But I want to talk to you about what do you do to help parents prepare for the possibility of this and be aware of the signs, and just how important it is, and especially how important it is to know that this is a condition, these conditions can affect men as well, because I think that's something that we're still all learning, I guess I would say.
Absolutely. In the conscious fathering classes, we have a pretty dedicated 15 to 20 minutes at the end of class. I like that to be my final subject, because I want that to be the one that sticks with the parents the most. And we talk about those anxiety and depression and how it can happen from conception all the way to 6 years postpartum, and how that it's not as much an if this is going to happen, it's a when does this come around to happen. And we talk about that, and then I like to tell my own story and my own experience with anxiety and depression in the perinatal period in particular, and I find that resonates really well with our families, because there's that parity, that validation of their own experiences, that shared world. And that makes it less scary when you see somebody, you recognize this is something that happens. This is not something to be afraid of. It's not that you're broken. It's not that you're a bad parent. It is that this is a weird chemical thing that happens to parents way more often than we ever talk about. And so if we destigmatize that and instead we focus on it's a weird chemical thing, and here are some of the tools. We can talk about the Edinburgh test, the PQ9YZ, which is always harder to remember. How can we get this directly to our care providers, and how can we get our care providers to have that discussion with us, and then make this just a baseline check-in every time we go to see a care provider, whether it's for male parents, female parents, the baby, the dog, whatever you're going in. Why not everybody involved test? And there's another opportunity to catch it.
Jessup, if you don't mind a personal connection, when it was happening to you, how did you figure out that it was the weird chemical thing?
Yeah, so regardless of the fact that I was teaching this class and that I was the guy who helped non-gestational parents, dads, with the Perinatal Support Washington. It was 6 years into having my first kid. So it was the second kid coming along that it finally crystallized, and that I realized those horrible mental scenarios that I couldn't get rid of was not the normal experience. It wasn't just, this is a dad worrying about what could possibly happen and I want to be prepared. It was, this is something that is taking away from my experience. This is preventing me from living my life the way that I want to live my life. And with baby one, it was directly tied to cell phones, like cell phone service. When I was out of service, that was when I felt these big anxiety moments. That's when I had these mental images of terrible things happening. which is why I became a birth worker probably. It was not to actually, I mean, I really loved it, but it was because I had figured out that the service was part of it. So here I got a job that I always needed my cell phone because who knows when someone's going into labor. I didn't fix it, I just went around it. And it wasn't until 6 years later when I had a similar situation that was not tied to the phone, it was just a day out with my family, and having this horrible mental image stop me in my tracks walking, that I finally had a direct discussion with my wife, and we talked about what I've been experiencing. It's when I learned that not everybody has movies that play in their head. That was an entertaining discovery. And even then, it still took me about 2 months to get around to actually finding therapy, getting medication, going through those steps that I had already helped hundreds of others to get through. And then the weight that came off my shoulders was amazing. Like, feeling like 70 pounds came off my world.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hello, my name is John Wittgenstein, and I'm the current board president for Parent Trust for Washington Children. A conversation we've been having over here at Parent Trust over the last little bit is just the importance and the relevance of the relationship between a parent and their child, or the relationship between children and their parents. And this is one of the reasons I love Parent Trust, because Parent Trust is here to help families build those connections, even when it seems impossible. And that's why I donate to Parent Trust, and why I'm asking for your support today. You can donate to us on our website at parenttrust.org, through our Facebook or Instagram profiles, and you can find us today on Venmo, or you can text the word donate to 855-933-3771. Please join me in making a donation today.